getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Welcome, race fans, to the start of another thrilling event of the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series. Round 6 is coming to you live on slow motion broadcasting. Tonight, we're at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, a track that needs no introduction to fans of open wheel racing. Nestled just north of Barcelona, this 2.89-mile, 16-turn Grand Prix layout is a technical gauntlet that tests every aspect of a driver's craft. Precision on entry, discipline on exit, and the ability to manage momentum through long, sweeping corners. Tonight, the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 field takes center stage. These cars may be the entry point to open wheel racing, but don't let that fool you. Tonight will demand finesse, racecraft, and bravery, all in equal measure. With only a 15-minute qualifying session followed by a 20-minute sprint race, the pressure is on from the moment the drivers roll out of pit lane. So Dylan, we obviously see the wet weather all over the racetrack right now. How do you think that's going to affect it as we're now in our 4th of 6 races so far in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series that the drivers will be dealing with wet conditions?
Well, that just means that your starting position is going to matter so much more, right? You're going to have a lot of chaos in front of you if you are trying to start from the back and make up positions as the race goes on. It's not a very long race whatsoever, obviously, in this SRG F4 series, and that will matter once this race does get underway. The rain is the all-equalizing factor, they say, but also it really allows the best drivers to show their skills and show what they are made of. And currently, Traber Burns, Max Linato, they are absolutely crushing the rest of the field, as is Ryan Chia when it comes to the numbers on the board. But I'll say this. Do you see what has seemingly stopped at portions of the racetrack right now? It's the rain. I think the track is continuing to dry and get quicker.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is certain areas where the rain is not coming down on the track right now, as we see Traber Burns come across and set the fastest time of qualifying so far, almost halfway through with a 1:58.565. You can see the spray off of Greg Meyer in front of him, where it's just quite still slippery over the track. You see even Traber having a little issue there. Thankfully, he already set quite a fast time. But as I'm kind of looking at the radar, Dylan, there's certain cells where it does dry up for just a moment, but overall it does look like the rain will come back in those sections at some point through this race. So it's certainly something we'll have to keep our eyes on, but as far as we can tell now, looking at the radar, the rain will more than likely run through the entirety until the checkered flag, which will always create a mess of traffic throughout all over, as we're seeing David Borden going through the S's of turns 6 and 7 and 8, I believe, as they're coming up that hill, and looking pretty fast so far. Our top 5, Traber Burns just set the quickest lap, 1:58.565, then followed by Jacob Guyton, 1:59.254, then Max Lamato, our victor last week at Zolder, in third with a 1:59.394. That is our top 3 so far, as we're on board with David Borden still. You see the rain coming down very heavily as he runs through turns 11 and 12, one of the sweeping corners we talked about. It's very difficult. You can see he's running it almost as far to the right as really possible without getting into that puddle. And Dylan, you can probably really speak to this quite a bit, but those puddles that really amass on the corners, you just have to find a way to stay away from them while still finding a short way around the track.
Yeah, 100%. And sometimes drivers opt to not run the apex because sometimes that is where water will really build up. You almost run the outside as we're kind of having a little bit of pack racing here on this main straightaway. Almost thought we were going to have an issue, but what a nice little slipstream for David Borden to kind of take advantage of at the start of this lap. Just overtook 2 drivers and, well, looks like he's going to be free. Went in a little bit too deep through turn 1, through the S's right there, 1, 2, and then this long sweeping right-hander, turn 3. You know, something to note, it's definitely going to be a little bit tricky on this circuit in the wet in the final sector. Formula One, of course, switched a couple of years ago to getting rid of that slower chicane in the final corners of Circuit de Catalunya a few years ago, and well, I should say Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, excuse me. But here we're racing in that old chicane, so that can be a little bit trickier to get the car slowed down in the wet, get the wheels turned up again, and get the traction for a big launch through 16.
Yeah, that's a very good point. The 160 horsepower, 1,200 pound Formula 4 race cars don't have quite the speed to be able to pick up after getting through that chicane as we're riding on board. Max Lotto, who is certainly, he was running, had a purple first sector, spins out in the final sector. That's gonna really be a bummer for him as he tries to work his way back on track. But back to your point there, Dylan, that is absolutely right. These cars are a little underpowered. It's gonna make it a little slicker than the overpowered cars having to deal with that chicane and find a way to carry a lot of speed onto the front stretch. That final corner in turn 16, it's really one of the sweeping corners. It's something they're really driving the middle line right now because of the wetness and the puddling so far going on the racetrack. And you're right, we will see a lot of issues more than likely happen there. I think just like we saw Max and Lotto have an issue, the faster corners are where you see the rear end come about. As long as they don't overdo the braking going into some of the tighter corners, they should be able to manage it. But there you see Adam Duvall coming out of the final corner. He's got Greg Meyer right behind him, looking on for the slipstream, which seemed to be quite effective last time we saw it there. And yeah, Greg Meyer even jumps over Adam Duvall. Greg Meyer with the third place run at a 1:59.390, and now we're starting to see times come in just past 10 minutes in the qualifying, under 5 minutes remaining, and we will see if Greg Meyer is able to do anything better on that. But as for now, Traber Burns still holds the top of the board, 158.246, Jacob Guyton 159.124, and Greg Meyer 159.390. Everybody all separated just about 1.1 seconds within the top 3. So we're seeing the gaps somewhat close together. These rain races always prove tricky. We've seen it happen throughout the season so far, as we've had 4 of these 6 races will be wet conditioned race. The mistakes can somewhat add up when it comes race time between drivers pushing hard, getting a good launch off of the lights out, and it really can sometimes set you back. We did even see Max Lotto have an issue at Maunz where he had a speeding in the pits penalties. So anything can really happen, and we're ready to shake it up again as we get ready to start these drivers off in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series at Catalunya. It's going to be quite a good race, I think.
You know, something, Kennan, that we haven't really talked about is that, or I should say this, let me rephrase my statement. We were just talking about the rain lightening up, but because of this dynamic weather system that iRacing has, you can already see it's gotten darker again, and the rain has seemingly picked up. We haven't necessarily seen the top-end times expand, get any faster as this qualifying session has gone on. Obviously, things can change in an instant. We went into this race with it being quite unlikely for there to be any rain, and well, that's been the story of this season so far. Very unlikely, but it just sometimes seems like whenever the 6-sided dice is rolled, it always lands on a 6 when it comes to the rain, and that's the only time that you get the rain. So that's what we've been seeing a lot of so far this season.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know if the slow motion broadcasting truck just has a rain magnet to it, or what's going on there, as we see a massive bubble from, I believe that's maybe Ryan Chia we're on board with a very big slip up in the final corner. Seemed to have a good hold of the grip. Obviously going to hurt the time. We see a car losing it there in the back. Can't quite make out who that blue car is. That might be Max Lotto actually. But everybody so far seemingly not having too much of an issue. But I think as we're getting into the final section of this qualifying run, everybody's having to leave it out on the table. Obviously no damage in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 series, and that is something of benefit if you do have mistakes at parts of the track where you can keep going and find a way to get a time in. And we see Jose Navas kind of making a move there on, I believe, a Condersma, and might have gotten by, but the traffic will slow you down a little bit. I think you see just how wet the track is. The spray is just so thick right now that there's not much the drivers are going to do. And I think even to your point, Dylan, you are right. The rain has picked up quite a bit, and I think the track conditions are only going to get worse. You can see the reflections in a lot of areas of the track, and there we see the 34 car of Rudy Samudio going off as well in turn one. Just a little too much brakes, probably catches the tires, does a little hydroplaning. So I doubt we'll see anybody run a faster time as the conditions have gotten worse here with just under a minute in qualifying. Seems like everything's gotten a little worse. If anybody could do it, though, it is Max Lotto coming across the front stretch right now, and he does. Max Lotto takes it to the top of the board. He says a wet track, fast track, 158, 193, goes past Traber Burns. He now sits top of the board with just 30 seconds left in qualifying.
Yeah, an absolute flyer of a lap right there, and a little bit more of a slip and slide for Lotto going around those first couple of corners. It's always fun to see drivers try and wrestle their race cars through that opening sector right here. Typically it ends at this very moment here. A little bit deep, but look at that. On the apex, you have all of that water, that standing water that kind of pulls up as that track kind of almost is a little bit banked to the inside there. Always trying to stay on that dry line, Lotto is, and so far, it's been a pretty decent lap. This is a difficult sector, though, or section to go through in the wet. Look at all of that water. There's not much you can do about it to get a good lap time.
Yeah, Max Lotto trying to best what he just put to get himself on top of the board. Looking quite clean. I think if anything, he knows this can be a throwaway lap, but try and understand the conditions a little better. It looks like he is really pushing that car close to the puddles, but making it stick so far as he comes up on slower traffic just in front of him. He is going to be able to find it, and they pull off to the side safely, letting Max Lotto be able to cleanly finish this lap. And going into turn 15 right now, you see he's holding it really tight. We watched him lose the rear end there. It looks like he's found a way to keep the car a little more tractioned in, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this time actually go to the top of the board even quicker and set a little bigger gap between second place Traber Burns. We'll have to see as he's rounding the final corner. Everything
middle sector
there
wasn't great.
Looked really good though on the final sector. A purple first sector, and we will see what comes of it. No, it wasn't a better time. Actually, it was a better time by 0.001. He does best the time, a 158, 193. So that is quite an interesting lap there by Max Lotto, making it work in the wet right now. So we're following Traber Burns still on his fast time. Looks clean through 15 and 16. We'll see what kind of run he gets on the front stretch as we're winding down qualifying. Only a few cars left to take the checkered flag here. And Traber Burns does best his best time, but only a little closer to Max Lotto, still second on the board with a 158.246. That is a really good lap time there. We see Ryan Chia getting himself even up into 8th position. Not a big fan of what races Ryan Chia is. He certainly talks about it in the paddock, but looking pretty quick so far, getting himself inside the top 10 here in qualifying. And there we see Renee Condersma getting across the line in 20th with a 208.053. Really, for the wet conditions, we're looking at the top 15 drivers all separated within a few seconds. So pretty fair gap for wet conditions. And as we know, mistakes really add up. Just going to be a matter of consistency on who we see win this race. So Dylan, as we're getting ready, we'll get the points actually up here in just a moment, and then we'll look at the starting grid as everything seems to finalize here. But Dylan, going into this race, what are you expecting given all the wet conditions, and how's somebody going to see themselves get to the podium today?
I mean, I'm expecting a little bit of chaos, right? All it takes is for someone to forget that they need to brake very early going into turn 1 for there to be a ton of carbon fiber and debris laying all over the racetrack in turn 1. We take a look at the championship standings. I believe, is this a older version of the standings, or is this with 2 races dropped?
Yeah, that is an older version there. We've got actually David Burns still. Yeah, we got a mess up on the points there, but we do have actually David Borden still holding on to the lead. He had a 7th place run at Zolder, not the best he wanted, but still holding 2 points over Max Lotto and 4 points over Traber Burns. So we will maybe be able to come back around to that here in just a moment. But we do see we have cars starting to get on the grid. Surprisingly, maybe a little slower than other days we see cars getting on their grid, maybe making sure the wet tires are all strapped in properly. But as we see, we've got our starting grid ready for you. And on the front row, like we saw, Max Lotto taking the pole with the 158, 193. Alongside him will be Traber Burns with a 158 as well, at 243. And then the second row, we got Jacob Guyton and Greg Meyer. Third row, Jose Navas and David Borden. Fourth row, Adam Duvall and Ryan Chia. Fifth row, David Hirsch and James McDonald. And then the sixth row, Sarah Vase and Jason Trantham holding out the top 12. Seeing the grid start to get a little bit fuller there. And then row 7, Brian Rice and Nathan Perkins. Row 8, Ken Glasser and Bob Egger. Row 9, Walker Foltz and Isaac Hammond. And then we've gotten row 10, Rudy Samudio and Renee Condersma, and signed Nathan, Michael Wynn, Tyler Hagan, and Christopher Yee, all rounding out the final part. And Kennan starting in 25th. Actually, quite a full field here so far. The bottom 4 did not put in a time, but as we see, the lights are getting ready to go on. You can hear the motors revving right now. The conditions seem to be that the rain has stopped for the moment, so we will have to keep an eye on that, as it does look like there it is. You can see rain on some of the cameras, so maybe lightened up just a little, but it does look like it's gonna rain for the next little bit. And the lights are getting ready to go up as we've got them going, and the green flag is out. Away they go. You see Max Lotto getting a really good start there over Traber Burns. A lot of cars going all wide, 2, 3, 4 wide as they're making the run. Max Lotto leads the way. You see Greg Meyer on the inside pushing himself past Jose Navas. He's going to have an opportunity to come out of the open turn. And there goes Brian Chia, I believe. That's the number 9 car. Brian Chia has also through turn 1 a clean spin. Doesn't collect anybody else with him. Everyone else seems to get through clean. There's possibly another car maybe off there in the back, but so far we're 3 corners through. Ryan Chia losing it a little bit under braking in turn 1, but so far everybody's clean. Max Lotto, Jose Navas, Greg Meyer are top 3 as we're getting into row 6, or into turn 6, excuse me.
Yeah, dream start for Max Lotto has just dashed away almost 2 seconds in front of the rest of the field. Jose Navas, Greg Meyer, they're trying to go side by side for P2. Oh, somebody is off into the gravel there on the exit of turn number 5. Couldn't quite tell. Was it Jacob Guyton? It may have been. Yes, it was. Just a struggle through that section of corners. Hard to get the car stopped when it's raining and you're trying to compete for a position here in the early goings.
Yeah, absolutely right. The drivers are clearly off to a very aggressive start in such wet weather conditions, and certainly been a few people, as we'll go back and look at Jacob Guyton getting off into the gravel. You see a little bit of the spray with Greg Meyer in front. Takes the wide line, but you can almost see the change and the glossiness of the racetrack, and sort of just spits him right out in that grass. You see a lot of gravel all over that racetrack, even from qualifying, that's still there, and that is quite a big mess there, as we're going to go into a little bit of issue there. But we've got replays galore right now, so as we're looking at it, Max Lotto still leading over Traber Burns, Jacob Guyton, Greg Meyer, Jose Navas, and actually Jacob Guyton's fallen back, so Jose Navas has jumped himself into 4th position. As we look ahead, it's been pretty good racing so far on track. Everybody is starting to settle out just a little bit as we're looking at the leaders be able to kind of get themselves settled in, see where it's going. Renee Condersma has actually spun out in turn
look at
6,
that mess.
And we are looking at quite an issue.
Yeah, it looked like Jacob Guyton got into the side of, or was gotten into the side of at the last sector of this circuit. So lots of chaos, exactly what we were expecting here in the early going. We're working through a little bit of technical glitches in the background. Should be all back and running in just a little bit. Right now, Max Linlado still leads the race, even though it does say Renee Kundersma, excuse me, is in P1. Hey, 33-3. How about that? A bunch of Max Verstappen numbers right there. And Linlado, of course, still leads the way. It's been pretty easy going for him so far. Everybody else in the background, they're having a scrap. And Greg Meyer is currently just in front of this battle. We're looking behind Jose Navas, Traber Burns going around the outside or the inside here at the end of that mini straightaway. Almost got the move done, Kennan.
Yeah, Traber Burns sending in quite deep there. Jose Navas able to use the exit and get back under him as they're going through turn 14. You see Traber Burns trying to utilize that outside, and he makes the car stick somehow. That is a very slick surface, especially on the outside. But there goes Jose Navas back inside. He is racing tough as they're going into 15 and 16 right now. And Traber Burns right off of the rear of Jose Navas. This has been quite a fight for fourth place so far. As we can see, more than likely the closest race on the track at this moment. And there you see Traber Burns, a little wider exit, choosing to not utilize the slipstream, which is kind of interesting. Obviously keeps him out of that spray just a little bit, but not doing anything to really want to make a dive into turn 1. But David Borton looks inside of Traber Burns and thinks better of it. He is starting to close in, as well as we're looking at Jose Navas, Traber Burns, David Borton, David Hirsch, and Sort of Vase all kind of coming together there in what could be quite a race for third place.
Yeah, 100%, and they are side by side right now. Burns, Navas, as they exit sector 1, this 180-degree right-hand sweeper, and Burns on the outside is able to get the move done. It's the outside, typically not the most preferred line through there in the dry, but again, the pooling of the water makes it really easy to have to go around that outside line and make it work, as we see Vase in that old Force India scheme livery trying to make it happen, currently in 7th. Isaac Ammon right here in 14th place in a battle of his own.
Yeah, he's looking to try and take over on Ken Glasser and Brian Rice just in front of them. He will get a little bit of a better entry, it looks there, but you can kind of tell the drivers and the way the spray is coming off the rear of these Formula 4 cars. You're having to almost take an opposite line compared to where you are, and there it is. Isaac Ammon goes inside of Ken Glasser, really wants to take this position for 13th and get moving. Slides up almost into him. As you can see, looking off the rear of Ken Glasser, just how close they are. Isaac Ammon's going to try and make a move again. But you can sort of see a lot of the different drivers. You saw the two even back there in the background, kind of having to take different lines just to be able to see their entries, I think. The spray is just such a difficult thing to mess with. You can't utilize kind of following the car the way you would normally be used to in dry conditions. And there, Isaac Ammon able to make a beautiful move going into turn 14 and finally get by Ken Glasser. And it looks like he's going to be able to maintain with that. So well done move by Isaac Ammon to get a hold of him. And there, you see Ken Glasser still staying with him. Maybe we'll have an opportunity to recover, but as we see them all coming across the line right now, Max Linlado still holding the lead over Greg Meyer, Traber Burns, Jose Navas, and David Borton, which has been quite a good battle so far between Borton and Navas. And there we see David Hirsch having to defend there, going by, I believe maybe Sort Vase as they're clearing through. And yeah, that's turned into quite a race as well. The wet conditions, you see just how bad they're having to slip and slide down, and I don't think any of these conditions are letting up. And so far, we haven't seen any really bad mistakes, but there we see Sort Vase getting in that very wet stuff. You can see the reflection, just how different it is, and you can really see just the kind of exit David Hirsch is able to get compared to Sort Vase not having to be in such the wet part of the racetrack, and certainly proven to be an advantage just what line you're taking at this moment.
Yeah, you know, parts of this track where if it's dry, you're able to go side by side a little bit easier. It's just not possible right now, right? Both drivers, Vase and Hirsch, kind of overcooked the entry into that corner just because the braking point, it's not really solidified. It's not really a comfortable point for anyone here. And look at this. Greg Meyer currently entrenched in a battle with Traber Burns for second place on the podium, still side by side as they enter into turns 12 and then 13. Meyer losing out on that position is going to have to try and fight back through these couple technical corners before the long straightaway.
Yeah, Greg Meyer being overtaken there by Traber Burns. Traber Burns, obviously one of the better drivers in the wet conditions, was finally able to make a move and seize the most of it. He's got about a 5-second gap, Traber Burns does, from Max and Lotto, so it's just under 12 minutes remaining. If there's a time to have to make a move, this is where Traber Burns is going to have to feel like if he's comfortable with the car, he's got to go and go now, and maybe hopefully hold off Greg Myers. It looks like he has, breaking away to just under a 1-second gap going into one, and there you see the madness happening all throughout the midfield as David Borden is looking to hold on and get by Jose Navas, and there's Sorbet still looking on David Hirsch, and he's got a decent run through turn one, so we'll have to see how well that can kind of hold up. And even behind them, it looks like maybe got James McDonald wanting to kind of make a closing in if they start to get a little racy themselves as well. So there's quite a bit of racing. You can see it all up and down the leaderboard, all the orange and yellow showing drivers within half a second and 1 second of each other. And there you even see Isaac Amon get by Brian Rice, and there's Ken Glasser getting by Brian Rice all in one move there for 12th and 13th. And there it looks like Brian Rice has maybe had issues as he starts to fall off the board even further, but quite a big little gap. It is worth noting Adam Duvall
Guyton's done.
had a good start.
Hold up. Jacob Guyton just pulled off onto the grass and has decided that this race is over for him. So that is a loss from the race. The 5th place driver in the championship standings. Would not be surprised if this is going to be used for a dropped race. I mean, this is going to be 0 points for him.
Yeah, just looking at it, it's hard to determine if that was from off tracks. There is a 20x off track limit, or incident limit, not just off tracks, but whether it was that or whether he had a cut through and just wasn't able to quite get it cleared in time. So that is not very good. And here we're going back and looking at our race leader. There's our race leader, Max Lotto, spinning out in turn 12. We saw this happen in practice, and that's going to allow Traber Burns, as we see, going by. And Greg Meyer, I believe, is even able to jump up to second. We have seen this affect Max Lotto several times throughout the first half of the season, having a lead, having a spin. Obviously, these wet conditions are difficult, but there's Greg Meyer actually going off track as well. So Max Lotto does only lose the one position, but Traber Burns able to make up the difference with that spin and now has a 3-second lead over Max Lotto just past the halfway point in this race. And this really sets it up for a movie like we've maybe seen before, where Max Lotto has an opportunity to run down Traber Burns 3.6 seconds and maybe make up for the mistake that was had there, losing the rear end of the car. Time will only be able to tell on that one, as we also see Sorbet still trying to fight with David Borden and make something happen, as you see just how hard he's having to utilize the curbs and really slipping and sliding that car all over. There's this race just kind of got turned on its head, Dylan, having Traber Burns get by Max Lotto with Max Lotto's mistake there spinning out.
Yeah, 100%. That is a massive problem for Max Lotto, and let's look at the replay right there. All it takes is an extra little press of the throttle, and he's right back onto it, lost the position. I mean, honestly, this is what Lotto was kind of pushing out that gap as much as he could for, because in the case of a mistake, well, yes, he's 3 seconds back, but he still can make up that time. I don't think he necessarily will, but it could have been a lot worse for him, because if you're in the mix with a lot of drivers in the pack as David Borden goes for a move, then it's not just one spot you lost after that spin, it's 10.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He's kind of very lucky to have only lost the one spot, but so far Max Lotto has gained about half a second this lap. Time is going to really be of the essence to be able to make up the difference on 3 seconds though right now. And there we see David Borden still looking on to David Hirsch is there in a fight with Sorbet trailing right behind them, all to settle who's going to finish in the top 5 as they go on to the front stretch, all in single file. And there goes David Borden diving to the inside. I think David Hirsch maybe had a little moment on exit. It was a little difficult to see, but David Borden able to easily get by into 5th as they're going down into turn 1, and Sorbet is going to have an opportunity to look into David Hirsch as well. Thinks a little better of it is, yeah, he touched that white line a little wet. You don't want to touch the paint, especially when it's wet, and has to back out of it. Settles himself still in 7th, having quite a good run today for himself as well, as we're looking on. And yeah, Max Lombardo still not able to do a whole lot more. We've got Traber Burns still leading there. You see the gap from Traber Burns to Max Lombardo. Lombardo creeping it down a little bit, 2.8 seconds, but with just under 7 minutes left in this race, it's hard to think that he will be able to catch up, assuming all things do stay the same. And right now, Traber Burns has got himself in a position where he could pick up his 2nd win of the season.
Yeah, 100%. But I will say that gap has come down by half a second last time we kind of were talking, or last time I was talking about the Max Lombardo Traber Burns difference here. It came down half a second, and now it's come down a little bit more as they go through the braking zones in this final sector. So let's just keep an eye on that, right? That I don't think the race for the win is necessarily over here. But for Traber Burns, this would be a massive couple of points of a swing if he is able to hold on to this race lead for an eventual victory. Lotto, though, you see he's pushing. He's over-driving a little bit through those technical corners there. Didn't really lose a lot of time, but it is something he'll have to think about next lap.
Yeah, he will, and more than likely if Traber Burns wins this race and Max Lotto comes 2nd, you're looking at nearly a 3-way tie between both of them and David Borden as we're going into week 7 next week, which will be quite interesting. But that lap by Max Lotto really didn't get to gain a whole lot. Still sitting just about 2.83 seconds away from Traber Burns. You can see Traber Burns really utilizing that outside line, staying where he thinks he can find the most grip in the car, and he's been able to somewhat manage the distance to Max Lotto. At this point, it's really a matter of time. Max Lotto certainly has the slightly quicker pace, but with the gap that was built, I don't think he will run into an issue. He just has to make sure he minimizes the mistakes. And here we see James McDonald on board, gets a little outside in the curbing and just loops it right around. And that is one spot when you get into those curbs, especially with these wet conditions, it's very easy to hydroplane. These cars do run really heavy with the rear end. And then here we'll see Brian Rice, where he had his issue earlier in the race, and he does spin it around there in turn 3 and just goes right off, no contact, and keeps everything going. And then we'll look at Tyler Hagan as well, going into turn 5 and 6, I believe that, or excuse me, that's turn 14 and 15, and just a little heavy on the brakes. Does an alright job keeping everything going. And then I think catching us up as well, here we see Rudy Samudio just getting it a little tight in turn 10, not able to get the car woe down and make that corner, but he doesn't really lose control of it per se. He just has to run it wide, get back going, but does lose that position as we're kind of catching up with things, as we're just under 5 minutes to go. And Max Lotto has brought that lead down to 2 seconds. He put together quite a good lap this go around, which is what he's gonna have to do if he can make it work. Dylan, I think this is one good point with the rain racing. It's easy to catch out Bachunk. When you're in the wet weather, it's very easy for one corner to be costly and really ruin a lap time. Max Lotto making the most of it right now, as we can see him going through turn 2, cutting that gap to just 1.9 seconds.
Yeah, this gap really is coming down. It's just how much time will be left for the gap to potentially come down even more. It's still raining. We're not going to see any different conditions by the time that this race ends. And each lap time has shown to be just under 2 minutes in length. I think we're going to get 2.5 laps to go before this race ends. It's going to cut it close. Could it just be 1.5 laps left in this race? Maybe. But I do think that Traber Burns is almost going to be forced to go one more lap to get this race victory. He's not going to really want to slow down at all because it's a 1.8 second gap at the moment.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think he's going to be able to do any kind of trickery to get the white flag to come out one lap early by any means. You can see even taking the inside line going into turn 10, which is a very interesting move. It makes you wonder just how dry maybe some parts of the track are starting to get, that Traber Burns is having to kind of find some wet areas to cool down the tires and maybe manage it. You do see a pretty good bit of spray off of the car no matter where it's on the track, but maybe it's still not quite enough to cool down these Formula 4 tires. And here we see a crazy four-way battle for 12th place between Walker Fultz, Brian Rice, Bob Eggert, James McDonald, all lined up like ducks in a row right now as they're chasing on to Walker Fultz, who is holding on just barely as they're getting through turns 11 and 12, or 7 and 8, excuse me. And just quite a good opportunity for a big jump in points there with four positions looking right in front of you. But Max Lotto has turned an ultimate lap and gotten this gap down to 1.2 seconds. And I think with 2 laps to go, Dylan, there is certainly the opportunity that Max Lotto might have 2 or 3 corners where he can make a look at it.
Let's look at this replay real quick, though. There was a massive crash. I think it was Walker Fultz who had a big incident right here in that 55 machine. A big dive down the inside, and
Rice.
Yeah. So the 25 car. Wow, goodness me. 3 drivers got involved there, and it looked like the 25 machine of Bob Eggert was not fully alongside. Not a good race for 7th in the championship right here. Let's take another look at the replay before we get back into this lead battle.
Yeah, you can see really sends it in. Brian Rice gets through clean, but then
that's
the
an Eggert's
25
problem.
of Bob Eggert just gets in the rear. Walker Fultz spinning him around. James McDonald really nowhere to go, just unfortunately getting collected in it. Thankfully, the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series, there is no damage. It's very much want to make sure all the drivers get as much track time as possible while they're out here, and it certainly benefits to why we get to see such great racing week in and week out. And you see everybody able to get going pretty well there. But there you see the gap between both of our blue cars, the leading cars. Traber Burns over Max Lotto right now, 1.2 seconds ahead, but it is starting to get closer and closer as we will look to the white flag, or this might be the white flag lap, actually. Yeah, here we go to the checkered flag. Traber Burns was able to hold up Max Lotto with a good run out of the corner, but just won't be quite enough. Traber Burns is going to get the victory today in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. What a run. What a victory. His 2nd victory of the season.
Oh, man. I'll tell you what, it's Greg Meyer finishes on the podium. A lot of fans of Greg's in the YouTube chat. I'm sure you are all celebrating that one. Jose Navas could not catch up, and David Borden will wrap up the top 5. I'll tell you what, if we had another lap right there, I think Max Lotto would have taken that race right up to the final corner with Traber Burns.
Yeah, it was certainly going to be close. Traber Burns put together quite a good final lap to be able to keep that 8/10 distance and well in hand to get that victory. And kind of just comes down to what we talk about, and certainly with as much as the wet weather condition races we've seen so far this season, the minimizing mistakes can really affect the way things go. I'm really looking at how it is right now. Max Lotto does have 2 victories so far this season, but he really could have 4. Mistakes have really cost him between Monza and even here today at Barcelona, as we see a really good race there between Brian Rice just getting over Adam Duvall for 12th place, as a lot of the drivers are starting to file in. Nothing else really too close. Hopefully everybody gets through on nice and safely, as we're seeing Michael Winsheim, Nathan, Rudy Samudio, Ryan Sheehan, and Renee Kundersma finish themselves across the line. That is quite a good race, and like we said, next week we'll certainly have to look. We're getting near that week 8. We're 6 races through. Next week will be week 7, and after that we'll really be able to see a clearer picture of how this championship race is going to look, considering the drop weeks of this 12-week season. And right now, though, it's very clear this is going to really be a 3-man race for the championship between David Borden, Max Lotto, and Traber Burns. Obviously, Max Lotto and Traber Burns, newcomers this season of the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series, are all trying to keep David Borden, a longtime member of the group, out. It's turning out to be a quite hot and heavy race. We'll really look forward to hopefully getting a chance to talk to them and get a chance to see who comes into the cool down room that we'll get to speak with as these rain races, you can always kind of tell from the drivers in their interviews, they're certainly very exhausted after these kind of drives.
Yeah, 100%. You know, these, even though they're just 20-minute drives here, you have to go through a 15-minute qualifying session. You've got practice just before that, and it just seems like every dang time they've had an opportunity to race in the dry, or at least a likelihood of racing in the dry, they are very unpleasantly welcomed by rain. So, really solid job from the top drivers here. I do wonder if we're going to start to get more of a stretch of dry races coming up.
Yeah, we're expected to. We do have, with the remaining 6 races, it does look like about 5 of them are expected to be no rain. So we do hopefully look to end this season in much better wet conditions. We do apologize at Slow Motion Broadcasting that we have such a wet weather magnet attached to our truck as we've been traveling all these European courses. It seems like it just can't get away from us, and quite an interesting start to the season we've had as we're 6 weeks in. But I do believe as we're seeing Max Lotto doing a little burnout, very happy with his 2nd place podium. It seems we could be even trying to cool off those wet weather tires, but I do believe we have our final results ready as we can go through them as we're starting to see some drivers get their gear off and get into the cool down room. So there you see it. Traber Burns able to win this race by 8/10, holds off Max Lotto after a spin in turn 12 that really turned out to be costly for his chance to win today. And then finishing up the bottom step of the podium is Greg Meyer with quite a good drive today as well in the rain. Then we got in 4th, Jose Navas, 5th, David Borden, 6th place, Sarb Vase, 7th place, David Hirsch, 8th place, Jason Trantham, 9th place, Ken Glasser, who had an excellent run up 6 positions. In our 10th place, hard charger Isaac Ammon, who is up 8 positions from starting in 18th place. Then we have in 11th, Nathan Perkins, 12th place, Brian Rice, 13th place, Adam Duvall, 14th place, Walker Foltz, 15th place, James McDonald, 16th place, Michael Huynh, 17th, Simon Nathan, Rudy Samudio in 18th, Tyler Hagan taking 19th, and Ryan Chia rounding out the top 20. Then we have Renee Connersmith 21st, Bob Eggert 22nd after a little bit of a rough issue there at the end of the race. And then Jacob Guyton in 23rd, Christopher Yee in 24th, and Ken Estep, who I don't think either of those two did take the green flag, rounds out the top 25 with quite one of the bigger fields we've actually had so far this season, which is really good to see. And so as we kind of look into the cool down room here, it looks like we've got our race winner Traber Burns with us. So let's speak with him first. Let's see what our race winner is feeling like today. Traber Burns, this is Kennan Miller up in the booth, and congratulations on your victory today. You were really looking nicely settled into 2nd place. Obviously, Max Lotto loses the car, and you're able to seize advantage of it and not let go of that lead. How are you feeling on such a victory today?
Fantastic now. I was very concerned at the beginning because today was a day where I felt like I could actually match the pace of Max, and this season has, that's not always been the case. So when I had that bad start and got dropped down, I was really, really frustrated because I felt like I had to maximize with the win today for the championship. So yeah, glad it worked out as it did.
And you certainly did. You did best it, and we will have to see as we get the points updated. But I do believe you will be at minimum in a tie for the lead going into next week. But possibly, depending on the bonus points, we'll put you in the lead of the points, getting past Max Lotto and David Borden, who are certainly your 2 main competitors going in. But we have reached now past the halfway point. We've got 6 races remaining in the chase. We are predicting drier weather, we hope, knock on wood. But going into these final 6 races, how are you feeling in your confidence and what you think your team can bring to take home the cup?
Well, we've been expecting drier weather since Osher Sleben, and it hasn't always been the case. So I think we've only had, one dry race and led it on? I mean, so I just expect it to be wet all the way out, and if it isn't, it isn't, is what it is. I'm down for whatever weather. It seems I can compete dry or wet with these guys, so whatever brings, I'll take it. And yeah, I'm really excited for the rest of these races. This has been a fantastic championship fight, and both Borden and Max are fantastic guys to race. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been very enjoyable to call and watch from up here. You guys really just haven't found a way to see and who settles it. And so far going this deep into the playoffs, it is looking like it's as open as ever on who really can win the championship. And next week we do go to Rutsk again, and obviously a pretty more used course in iRacing. A lot of drivers have some experience there, but going into it with the Formula 4 cars is something you're feeling comfortable with? Like, what are your expectations? Obviously, you're expecting to win every week, but just your familiarity with the course, what are you looking for as we get into that?
I love that track. I love that track a lot. You know, it's got a lot of similarities to a few North American tracks, and just a windy elevation. One thing is, I think it's probably the one track that's going to be the hardest to overtake on any of the schedule. The front straight isn't too long, and it started with that long last turn where you get a lot of dirty air. So qualified is going to be really important for that one. So I put an advantage on Max because he's been the best qualifier so far of the season, but hopefully I got something for him there.
Absolutely, and we can't wait to see you get there. And we know you and the team are looking forward to getting to a celebration. And I will remind you to not forget your gloves this week so you don't lose them. And give you a moment to thank a sponsor and a shout out to anybody you want to give a thanks to, and congratulate with your victory today.
Thanks to Jason for not selling my gloves while he had them. He could have made a decent amount of money if he wanted to. But hey man, they're Nomex. They're proper race gloves. He could have sold them for real. But no.
Surprised he didn't.
Yeah, shout out to him. Shout out to SRG. Appreciate these guys. This has been my most fun league I've ever been in. So yeah, shout out to you guys for covering it. It's awesome.
Oh, no, thank you. You guys make it really easy when you put on such good racing like you do today. But we'll let you get back with the team, Traver. Well done on today's victory, and we look forward to seeing you try and follow it up again at Rutsk again. You just got your second win of the season so far today. Good luck and congratulations.
Thank you, boys.
And that was our victor, Traver Burns. You could really hear the excitement in his face. It was really sounded like he wasn't expecting to come out with a victory today, and he did. And it really shined through. And I think now we've got Dylan down with our third place finisher, Greg Meyer, and we'll see how he's feeling after getting onto the bottom step of the podium.
Yeah, I've got the YouTube chat fan favorite in Greg Meyer with us right now. Greg, congratulations on the podium finish.
Thank you so much. That was a great race. It was fun. I had a blast.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like you were in the thick of so much of that front fight for the entirety of the 20 minutes there. How did the car handle those treacherous conditions?
For me, it was pretty tough. I really like wet, so I was like a kid in a candy store. I was enjoying it, but I knew that Max and Traeger up front were faster than me, so when I got around both of them at one point I was like, well, they're gonna get around me, but I just didn't want Navas to get around me because I knew that we were about the same pace and I wouldn't be able to get around him again. So I was shooting for a third, and I'm super happy with that. Bring home hardware, it's always good.
Now, a question, there's a lot of questions going on in the YouTube chat right now, but this is less of a question, more of a demand, that we need some celebratory double-decker tacos. What is your favorite? What is your favorite Taco Bell menu item? There's the dong. There was a request for the dong.
I love that. Thank you. My favorite is going to be a Crunchwrap Supreme. Just standard Crunchwrap Supreme is how you got to go.
Okay.
Yeah. And shout out
to
the YouTube chat. That's awesome. I love there's more YouTube chat.
Heck yeah. I'm a little bit controversial. I like the Crunchwrap Supreme, but I don't want the sour cream or the tomatoes in there. Just, I'll remove that, but everything else stays the same.
You can get it however you need it. That's the best part,
That is certainly the best part. All right. We're pretty much halfway through. We are halfway through this season so far. Before I let you go and before I let you give the shout outs of who you'd like to shout out, I'd like to know kind of your assessment of half number one of your season so far.
I've been loving it. I feel like I like how this season we've had a bunch of rain and there's a bunch of different people winning races, and the title fight is very close. So I think it's going to be a great season. I'm going to miss some races towards the end here, but I had a great first half of the season, and I'm excited for next season to get back after it with a full season and try to win.
Awesome. All right. Give your shout outs and then get yourself to Taco Bell.
All right. Shout out to all the ravers in the chat. First of all, YouTube chat, thanks for being there. And then also to my girlfriend, Magoo, and SRG.
Awesome. Greg, congratulations on the podium finish.
Thank you so much.
Joshua Wilkie, our producer, with the second dong of the evening. All right, Kennan, I think we've got one more in the interview room right now, and I believe that's the 7th place finisher.
Yeah, I'm down here with David Hirsch, who started 9th today, got a good 7th place finish, and had quite a battle between David Porton, Sorvage, Jason Trantham, all around him, really having to fight off the whole time and coming up with 7th. But David Hirsch, obviously tough conditions today. Still sitting yourself nicely in 4th place in points. Just what are your emotions as we're getting through the halfway point of the season?
Well, I feel like with how competitive the season has been, pretty good, honestly. These been really tough races with the rain and changing weather, and you don't really know how to prepare for some of these, but man, the guys up front are so fast, and I'm just honestly happy to be hanging on with them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been some would call it probably a wet and miserable first half of the season, as we've had really 4 of 6 races just be absolute downpours. But as we're going into the final 6 races, we are expecting 4 of those 6 races to have no wet weather, knock on wood for you. And you're still in 4th place, sitting well behind Max Lano, David Borden, and Traber Burns. But we're going into some tracks that you have proven before to be quite well at in previous seasons, between Hockenheim and the Snetterton and Misano and Rustkagen. And as we're looking forward to it, what is your mindset kind of going in to see if you can maybe make a run at getting yourself into the podium of this championship?
I've been really focusing on how I'm practicing this season, really looking at data and having intentional practices, and that's really helped a lot, getting up to speed a lot faster. These tracks, I finally do know some of them again, and this week was a new track for me, and yeah, I'm excited to be fighting with these guys. They're really fast, but we're also sharing so much information while practicing and putting the hours in throughout the week, so it's been a really fun group to kind of spend time with and get to know more over the season, while also racing pretty competitively with.
Yeah, it has been. It's been very competitive up and down, and we do all see it, and even having the wonderful addition of Traber and Max and Lotto into the Sim Racers Group Series, I think it only pushes everybody to be better and greater, and I think a lot of people are really kind of answering to that and not just letting it run away, which has been really nice. And even today with such tough conditions, you were in quite some difficult battles there that you really managed to hold off and have some really clean races with. But before we let you go and be able to dry off and everything, I want to give you a chance to give a shout out, give thanks to sponsors, anything of that sort as we're looking towards the next week in Rustkagen.
I just want to thank you guys at Slow Motion Broadcasting. Like, again, week in, week out, you guys just put on a wonderful show, and not only have made me more excited about this league, but other leagues that you guys broadcast. And it's just, so much fun to share what I love doing, sim racing, with my family and friends, and you guys make it possible. So, hats off to you guys. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. We tell everybody that says that you guys make our job so easy because you make the racing so good on the course that it's just so much easier to call than anything else out there. And best of luck to you, David. We hope to get to speak to you soon, and good luck as we go to next weekend in Rustkagen in the second half of the season. Well done on the 7th place today, 2 points or 2 spots ahead of your starting place of 9th today.
Hey, thank you so much, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you. And that is David Hirsch, our 7th place finisher. And you could really tell it from all 3 drivers we just got an opportunity to speak with. They're all really kind of thrilled with how the season's going. The Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series really is just one of the top level standard series when it looks at the Formula 4 cars and even the Formula 3 cars on Wednesday. There's just not really a better group you can be with and have an opportunity to race with and learn from, and just the kind of community that you really want to have from a sim racing group when you're trying to find good people to race with. So we certainly always encourage, look into that if you haven't already, and definitely try to become a part of this wonderful Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series racing we have right now. And obviously these broadcasts aren't made possible without the viewers like you, so please hit that like, hit the subscribe button. Make sure to follow us. We've got all sorts of racing on slow motion broadcasting, and we'll get into it right now, as we've got the Formula 3 cars tomorrow in the Sim Racers Group racing at Suzuka, which is just a beautiful F1 track, and that is going to be one to definitely not miss tomorrow night at 10 p.m. And then this weekend, we've got on Saturday at 2:30 Eastern, Weekend Warriors Formula V from Phillip Island, which is just a really beautiful course, nice background with the water and ocean and all there. Definitely something you want to see as well. And then Sunday, we've got the Cross Series League Racing from Road Atlanta, 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. That is really one you want to see. And then we've also got the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warrior Series on Sundays as well at 2:30 p.m. So certainly one you want to check out as we get to it. And then obviously next week, Dylan and I will be back for the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series from Rudskagen in Norway. And we're looking forward to that trip, as we've been bouncing all around Europe. And we promise we're going to make our producer, Joshua Wilkie, get rid of the weather magnet before we take our trip up there. And that is what we've got going on slow motion broadcasting. So remember, like, subscribe, make sure to stay in tune. We've got races every day of every week, and it's always something to watch. But I'm Kennan Miller, in voice for the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series. Alongside me, Dylan Coyle, and in production, Joshua Wilkie, the weather magnet. And we are happy to have broadcasted you this race from Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Congratulations again to Traber Burns on his victory today in the wet, and we look forward to seeing you from Norway. Good night.